Morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. Thank you for joining me today. Um, let's take a few moments as everybody sort of joins us. I went straight to a live casting without a link, which is something that I've not done for a while. Thank you for bearing with me with these sort of scheduling challenges that I've been having of late. I am trying to get a regular schedule and trying to make everything happen as smoothly as possible. So why don't we wait a moment or two for everybody to log on that's been waiting, and then we'll begin. Okay, I think we've hopefully all joined. So happy Sunday again. And it's really nice to be with you all today. It's a beautiful day in California. Not too hot, not too cold. And we just had the time change. Um, I didn't realize it was today. And I looked out and I'm like, why is it still dark? And I'm thinking, maybe this is the time change today. So, I'm collecting my thoughts. Hmm. I found myself a very beautiful spot to broadcast from today. And when I found the spot, I didn't realize how beautiful it was. Because at the time, the sun was right in my eyes. And now that it's towards my back, I actually can see we're going to practice today. But I saw something online this week, which I copied, and we'll put it on the Twitter X, I guess Twitter, former now known as X, page, which was on a topic that I sort of wanted to speak about for a while. And I'm not going to get into it too much now, because it's an involved topic. And I think it's something I've touched about a little bit in the past. And I know I've actually touched about it in the past, but not in a large amount of depth. The path to wholeness isn't linear. Linear means straight. You don't kind of get to A to B. The road isn't necessarily straight. Let me just say, I guarantee you it will not be straight. And unless you're some amazing being, but human life is more complex and challenging. Obstacles in our current lives and situations, dealing with our past and our motivations, inclinations, habits, both good and bad, are challenging to face, overcome, and heal. And so, if we want to get from LA to San Francisco to that Golden Gate Bridge, right? We might get halfway there, and then something happens and we realized we're just barely out of LA. And we're like, how did we get back here? And then we move forward, and then we end up in San Diego, and be like, okay, this is even worse from where I started from. And how is that? It's challenging. We uncover different layers, and then we get somewhere, and then somehow we get back. And then we move forward. And then we feel we've kind of stuck in the mud a little bit. We shouldn't. Let me say what I saw. I'm going to and then I'll get to what I'm going to say now. So from this posting, and it's rare that I see postings. I used to see a lot of really good postings. And now it's kind of rare. And that's why I don't repost. I'm going to be creating my own postings very soon. It's one of the things that I have on which I wish to do. So here it is. So interesting, because it's exactly mostly of how I think. It's literally my thoughts, really well articulated, which I didn't write. The spiritual path isn't linear. And some days you'll feel like you've lost all your progress. You'll react from old wounds, fall back into patterns you thought you healed, doubt everything you once knew. This isn't failure, it's integration. It's becoming whole. It's bringing together healing, and it's being blended in with what you are. So it's integrated. It's getting mixed in. Yes? Healing happens in layers. You don't regress. You just reached a deeper level of the same wound that needs your attention now. Be gentle with yourself. Awakening isn't about never struggling again. It's about struggling with new awareness, more compassion, more trust that you're exactly where you need to be. Even the setbacks are part of the path. And this brings the point that I wanted to say. There are no setbacks. Not in San Diego. You're midway to San Francisco, but there's something there that loops you back. But you didn't lose any of your progress. Does that make sense? The fog may set back in. You may feel a little lost. You'd be like, where was all that insight? Where was that momentum? I'm back at zero. No, you're not. What you've done, what you've overcome, is not erased. You're just in a place where there's a lot of turbulence. And the instruction is to be present in that space. You're uncomfortable because there's a lot of things that are sort of getting worked through. And it's not to judge that you failed. It's not to judge the practices aren't working, because the fact that you're there shows that they're actually working. It's kind of where the rubber meets the road, where you continue. Even if it's just getting through the day, you continue in trying to remain present and doing your practices forward momentum, but it wasn't noticeable at the time. Because by going through that sort of barrier, that haze, that fog, that uncertainty, that question, the regression back to things that you thought you had dealt with, you're actually moving past it. But you're in it. But you're not in it when you first felt it, those patterns, the event. You're in it where you are today. Does that make sense? So there are so many layers of clearing, and it could even be in our lives. Challenges in our lives. And how do we work with them? Some days they're overwhelming, and some days it's no problem. And then suddenly it's overwhelming again and painful, and you shut down. You have physical pain over it. You react to it. You're moody. You're depressed. Don't judge yourself there. That's being human. That's our condition. That's what is how we engage and how we are on this planet. We don't become superhuman. But as we learn and work on it, we become less that. In the reaction, the pain, and getting back in, we go through it faster. On the other side, it's fresher and clearer. Because all of it is just something that comes up that needs to be worked through. Go back to old patterns, to old angers. You work on it, you see it. You say, well, that's not good. But you don't say it's hopeless. You don't say you're hopeless. Oh, I'll never get there. Oh, this is a waste of time. No. But then you're stuck there. Then you've just put yourself in cement. The view is one of hope and one of promise and one of forward momentum to wholeness, to improvement, to better tomorrows, to energy flowing better. But sometimes you hit a little pool of whatever, and it's a slog, a challenge to work through. But you put your eyes forward, and you work forward as best as you can. And all of it is where you are on the path. You're really not in San Diego. It may feel you're actually exactly where you were, closer to San Francisco. But that peace sort of has awakened there. Practice is so important because it's our car. It's the vehicle that gets us there. The names of God is the vehicle that gets us there. The practice of presence and directly meeting the energy without using a name is a practice that gets you there. It's not something I've discussed yet. Prayer is a practice that helps us get us there. Call in that additional help, the reaching out. Because whatever goes on, it's hard. But its reality is only relative to us. It's how it works its way through us. It's not like a stone. You go against a stone, you're going to get hurt. It's going to hit you. It's going to bounce back. You're going to feel the stone. The stone's not going to give. But with us, these things are real. It's not saying it's not real. We have a reaction to them. We react to, we remember, there's a feeling, there's a memory, there's a fear, there's a condition that arises in our lives. But they're impermanent in the sense they can change, but also sometimes for some of them, they're as real as we make it be. And it's not to brush them aside, but a lot of it is how we meet the thing. If our body doesn't view it as a challenge, it's not. If our body reacts and cringes to it, then it becomes a challenge. So we're working with our energies in our bodies. So we're empowering ourselves. So things that we viewed as a challenge or things that held us back in the past are no longer so. The very same thing. And so we begin to understand, well, it seemed beyond my ability to get through in the past, or it seemed like that's just what reality is. And then suddenly it's not, and it's not a problem. What happened? What changed? And as you contemplate that, right, using the mind, you begin to understand yourself. And maybe you begin to understand the practices that you're doing and how that helped. I hope this kind of makes sense. I look forward to the day when I could get questions and answers. It's something I wanted to discuss, and I guess I ended up discussing it. So I hope it's helpful. And you learn to work with it. You learn when to give yourself a break, and you learn to roll with the challenges and do the best you can. And I'm not immune to this by a long shot. I'm still on the path. You work, you show up, you do the best you can. And for me, personally, show up when I'm not able to. You know when you don't, how to manage situations. And there's a certain awareness as to what's possible and what's not. And being okay with that. Even if it's not what you personally would like, but you let go of what you personally would like. Because that's kind of about you. And the reality ain't necessarily lining up for that. And the wisdom is, when do you push through, or when you just say it's not in the cards? And the understanding of how to manage is always in the clear presence, the clear present moment. The clear present moment, when you really see for what it is, your energy is in the third eye and above. The future, its presence, its awareness, it's naked. And above is where that awareness, you're not as much focused in things of the past or even things arising. There's a stillness. And so as we work and we clear, our energy rises. The Sephiroths clear. And we learn to live in different places. We can live in many different houses. The house of anger, of shame, of pain, of danger. Both we think it is or it actually is. So they're both internal things, external things. And how do we maneuver? There are things externally we cannot change. But what we can work on is our reaction and our ability to face the challenges. And we have the names of God. So in a way, we are training and healing back to the abilities that are our birthright to be in the storm, that voice of reason in the chaos, the wisdom with a capital W, while everybody is giving wisdom with a lower W, case W. Their own wisdom, popular cultural wisdom, wisdom that's a little off, but they think it's with a capital W, grounded in the actual situation with a transcendental understanding of what's arising and what needs to be done or not done. That is completely 100. So we get out of the way of that. So something beyond, something from within, can be seen that way, emerges. And it emerges in the still moment beyond thoughts. We could also say it in the still moment during thoughts. Are we trying? And at the beginning, it might be a little off and on, and even further on, it might be off and on at some point. But do we at least have the desire to point ourselves in that direction? Yes. So in what I've said, isn't other than saying the names of God, isn't necessarily religious. What I've described is a spiritual path to living in a higher state of being. Yes? If we put a religious aspect to this. We're living closer to God when we live in a higher state of being, and we become more like Him. We never become Him. That's not possible. But we have more qualities, attributes, more ways of being and thinking that are closer to the perfection, capital P and capital T. Yes? And with that higher vibration are greater abilities, greater tools, greater ways of seeing. The path becomes much easier. Obstacles aren't as... Sometimes you're in that fog. At the beginning, it could feel like it's been a couple weeks or month or two. Well, it becomes a matter of hours or days later on. And each time you swing back to that difficult thoughts, it becomes less and less and less and less. You're draining the pool of what that is. You get lighter, you get healthier. Your energy naturally rises. But it's the road. When you find yourself in the Pinto, after being in the Ferrari, you're like, oh, I'm here. You're not even like, oh my God, it's the Pinto. You're like, oh, okay. I know this Pinto quite well. Okay, well, all right, I'm in the Pinto. The lack of resistance to the Pinto causes the energy to just flow through. Oh, I'm here. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That happened. Oof. To see it, you're like, yeah. Oh, yeah. Here again. Oh, so over this. But, it's still there. No judgment. Okay. And that energy comes through, out, and gone. Versus when you started, that might have been 2-3 months of psychotherapy. And not you being dramatic. It literally, for anyone, that could have been that dramatic. But after a while, the river flows. The Pinto's an old friend, and as you embrace it, boom, you're back in the Ferrari. This is the spiritual path. The names of God, you could be in the Pinto, and you could say, if you're practiced in the name that you're working with, or several names, you could say it 3 or 4 times and you'll right pop back in the Ferrari. And you did not bypass it. You simply used the name, and the power of the name cleared what that was, popped you out back into the Ferrari, and saved you 2 months in therapy. Yes, that is real. That is very much possible. This is why we work with the names. Or you could also be in that Pinto while saying the names. For whatever reason, you're not being popped out, but the names is part of your companion, and that is on your passenger seat. And you pray to God, and you're doing your thing. Or if you don't believe in God, it's fine. You're not alone. You're working with the situation. Even if it's still there, that means you still are working with it. You are with you're in presence with the situation. You're not pushing it away. You might be like, oh my God, I'm sinking. Well, it's okay to think that, but you retain your faith in your practice, and you try to be there, and knowing just as it came, so will it leave. Or a different path will emerge that will cause that to shift away, because you'll take a different path. Or not. There are man-made situations, there are psychological situations. So a lot of what I've described is psychological. Man-made, well, it's slightly a little different. That might require choices and decisions, versus more psychological, which is a lot of what we have to deal with, ourselves, our minds, our attitudes, are what we can change and things we think we can't change. Those are all judgments based on our decisions. And often we're not quite right on a lot of those things because they're based on ideas that are of the past. And once we work through it, we realize, why did I think that? Oh, that can't shift. Oh, I'm not stuck. Oh, really? That's really not who I am. Oh my God, I thought that's what I was. And see, that realization can unlock and clear so much beyond it. We will not have to go through everything. Simply getting the momentum and causing the wheels to move will cause everything to move. The path is not linear in a good way as well. We do not have to get to Z from A and have to go through every single letter in the alphabet. As we go through C, D, E, that might get us to, I don't know, P. And we just skipped a bunch of letters, but no, that alignment means those things in between simply aren't in our reality anymore. Does that make sense? I don't want it to be too abstract. I'm trying to explain how energy works on the path, because all we're working with here is energy. Pure and simple. Our thoughts, our patterns, our reality, both how we perceive it and how it actually exists outside of us. And we interact with it. A religious path is not independent of the reality of our world, sadly. We're not in a cave or in a monastery or in the desert. In a cave. We have to interact with what's around us. This empowers us. The blessings of the name give us protection and a sort of abilities that's beyond what we're able to do ourselves. The frequencies change us and give us the ability to remain in presence where we won't need to say the name all the time, because by being in presence, we're living in the name. So when we're in presence, we're living in the name, in the floor of the Shekhinah, when we're aligned in divine presence, when we're sitting in our cathedral. And that's where clear seeing and wisdom. This is how we always know right from wrong. Because that is always at our core, that pure flow. Everything is just a layer that covers it up. And so by working and allowing these layers to lift, dust them off, to pass through, how to navigate, and we make change in understanding on how to navigate everything. And things feel more. We let go of the past, and we let go of what happened to us. We let go of our judgment, or we let go of the thought that we can never be forgiven for the things we've done, which is the purest poison, because that keeps us locked in that judgment that you can't escape. So we learn to heal and move forward with this forward. Presence is in the moment, which leads to tomorrow. Present moment, present moment, present moment leads to the future. The past is never to be geared towards, because the present leads to the present. The present doesn't lead to the past. So we have to learn to heal and let go of the past. and take our lessons from it, and also the decision to heal from it and to forgive ourselves. And I really want to emphasize, because there's a lot of people stuck there, that self-judgment without being able to forgive oneself is a true poison. And so I suggest to give it up. And it is a decision, because many people are stuck there like in a hole, can never release the self-judgment of something they've done or a pattern of behavior, and it's radioactive. And therefore you don't see yourself as the being you could become, or the being that you actually are inside, because you think you are what happened or what you've done. And so you put like a cement layer underneath you. You've encased yourself in that, not realizing there's so much more of who you are beyond that. But it requires the ability to let go, make amends, and if you can't, at least make a decision not to do it again and move forward with decisions that it will never repeat itself. And then at healing, you lift and you rise and you drop away that sort of encasement of concrete that you've built around yourself. Because the path is about evolving. The path is about rebirth. The path is about renaissance, to be reborn. Naissance is to be born, in French. Renaissance is to be reborn. And we are reborn from millisecond to millisecond to millisecond. Every present moment, a billion per second, because it's not even nameable what it is, because it's beyond time. It's present, 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 present. All that is a rebirth. And each moment is an invitation to release into freedom. The freedom of awareness, the freedom of presence, the freedom of wisdom, the freedom of proper conduct, thinking, freedom to swim and flow in the Shekhinah, which is the energy of El Shaddai, the energy of God. And that's our invitation. So why don't we practice a little bit together, shall we? We're going to be doing a lot of practices together. So I thought we would use the name Shekhinah Shalom today. I'm trying to give people a sense of the different names that are possible, so I don't engage with one 3 or 4 months ago, and then it's sort of forgotten because I don't touch back in with it. But also so people hopefully get a sense of the energy of the different names and how they all work a little differently and how they work the same. But this one, interestingly enough, really ended up matching to what I said. Even though much earlier today I thought of doing Shekhinah Shalom, and interestingly enough, what I ended up saying ended up leading back to it. The Shalom and the Shekhinah are really integral parts of our lives. The Shekhinah can be seen as the divine presence itself. Shalom is the state of harmony created when that presence is fully revealed. So it's produced. It's the manifestation when the Shekhinah fully manifests in us, when we're fully aligned with that inner cathedral, with that inner El Shaddai energy, we become a living manifestation of Shalom, of Emmanuel. Yes? Shekhinah could be seen as the light. And Shalom is the peaceful illumination the light creates when it fills the room. It's the divine harmony. So when we touch upon any of the names, it has a vibration, it has a great blessing. It's a name of God. We're inviting God's energy, His Shekhinah, the energy of blessing in the name, which fills us with healing, with Shalom. And it fills up that tank in us, heals those aspects which are not like that, not like the name, not Shalom. It could be exactly the opposite of it. The light heals the darkness, removes the darkness, is more powerful than the darkness. So when we pray on Shekhinah Shalom, we're touching in the name of Shekhinah, one of the names, and Shalom, which I believe is also a name. Shekhinah, bringing in the El Shaddai current manifesting creation, and Shalom, how it manifests, the attributes of what Shalom is in its purity. Harmony, peace, wisdom, where all the parts of creation are aligned. Wholeness, absence of conflict, compassion, intelligence, skillful action that manifests from those things. See? So what we're really inviting is what we seek, And that's the power of the names. So when we practice together, and we're going to practice more and more, we are actually walking the walk together. We're inviting in, through sound, what we wish to have manifest in our lives. We're manifesting the healing drink, elixir, pill, whatever we wish to call it, energy, current, blessing, that allows us to transmute, to change what we wish to change. And we bring that to the path, and it becomes strength and wisdom and intelligence and experience. And we can move forward in a stronger way. So, I'm getting out my prayer beads, which, here they are. I'm like, why? And so we'll do Shehina Shalom together for a little while. But first we'll start with the Shema. So one moment, I'm going to rub my beads, hold them in both hands, blow a little bit on it, and line up and pray, and then we'll do the Shema. And I invite you to do the same. So when we put our hands together, it's taking that moment to pause our momentum. So we cup our prayer beads between both hands, in between our chest, like I've mentioned many times before. We find that spot, that angle of the tips of the fingers, which opens the mind, and in that pregnant spot, we pray for our practice, that God be within our practice, infused in our practice, so we can connect deeply. And it's not just we connect, like me connect, but all the parts that are in me. So when I pray, may I connect, right? So I pray for all of you as well, but if I'm just doing it for me, right, in my practice, just individually, I said, may I connect, be in alignment. It's may all the blocks and every part of me, cell, energy, my whole body is that. It's not a concept of a thought. May I, whoever I am in my mind. But when I say may I connect, I'm thinking of all my sephirots and all my chakras, my toes, my nerves. May my whole nervous system connect to the energy of the name that I'm about to say, and the flow of the Shekhinah, and the practice. Because remember, we're meeting energy with energy. So I'm bringing all that I am, myself, my brain, my thoughts, of whoever I think I am, but also very much with my whole body as well. Yes? We shouldn't forget that. When we practice, we're bringing all of us, because how our bodies work with energy, how our sephirots in our mind and our chakras and everything is working, affects who we think we are and our emotions and our minds. But it's a whole thing. Change the body, change the mind. Change the mind, yeah, it starts working on the body, but the quickest way is to change the body. So when we pray, we never forget that the mantra is said with our whole body, with all of us, with our intent, and right down to the little cell on our little toe. Yes? So when we line up, put both hands together, we are uniting the left and right side of our brains and our bodies. And we should be able to find a peace there. And we blow on the beads, and we find it, that wholeness we find in our hearts. And then we ask that prayer, may God be in our practice. Please be with our practice. And if you're not religious, that's okay. Pray for wholeness. Just to whatever you wish, the universe. It's that desire is helpful. Yes? And then you start the practice. We're going to start with the Shema, and then we'll move on to the practice. We bring in the blessing of this tradition. The alignment in the names come from God, and this is the central prayer from which all of this comes. Okay? So line up for a moment, put your beads together, and we'll do that prayer. Breathe, relax, line up your spine. Find that still point in your body. You're literally lining up between your legs. So you're sitting right in that point where that openness. Not too much to the left, not too much to the right, not too forward, not too back. Just right over your bottom part, yes? And as you practice more with your body, you should be able to feel that energy line up through the spine to the top of your head. Like there's a string above your head, and it's holding you up from the center of you, and there's that perfect sort of alignment, and you feel that open space that comes with that alignment. Yes, it's there, and with time you'll discover it yourself. And from that open space, you will find you have no thoughts. You, with the right angle of your fingertips, pointed closer to your neck or further away. I find it today almost, 80% perpendicular to my heart, but it changes. There you'll feel your heart center and the warmth of your heart chakra area, and your mind will be still, and that's where you have a very, very powerful connection in prayer. It's a very powerful connection to the Shekhinah there. It's kind of the hotline in a way. It's a physical way to find the hotline, that connection. So let's say that prayer and ask that we are connected as we do our practice, and that the Shekhinah may flow. And after a couple seconds, I will say the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shekhinah Shalom, Shekhinah Shalom, Shekhinah Shalom, Shekhinah Shalom, Shekhinah Shalom. Shekhinah Shalom, 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 Shekhinah Shalom. Shekhinah Shalom, Shekhinah Shalom. You can continue if you wish, but if you're ready to end your prayer, you could put your prayer beads back between your hands. And also throughout the practice, you could have it in your hands as you wish, or cup between your hands if you wish to pray during your practice. But at the end, you put your beads back, or just your hands where they were at the beginning, touching the palms and the fingertips near the heart, and fingertips at an angle, the palms up close to the chest, and say a prayer as you end. You're finding that sweet spot again in that alignment. And from that space, you can pray deeply. You pray, you could feel maybe your energy rising, so you relax, exhale, allow it to rise in your prayer, finding a renewed new alignment. May the Shalom of the Shekhinah be with us always. Yahweh Shalom, my dear friends. Until next time, see you soon. Bye-bye.